It's time once again for another thrilling episode of Markout Radio. For the next hour, sit back, pull the stick out of your ass, and enjoy. Be warned though, smarks and internet know-it-alls will be offended, annoyed, and generally pissed off at what's about to happen to your ear holes. You've been warned. Now, Markout Radio.
That's right. Welcome back. Bunch of animals. Markout Radio goes Nitro, episode 34 for May 6th, 1996, out of the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida. Hosted by Eric Bischoff, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Steve Mongo McMichael. And his fucking state of his dog with what I guess is supposed to be a sailor's outfit on. I mean... This is the real reason why he's upset Flair's making googly eyes at his wife. Dark matches this week have the Steiner Brothers going over on the Public Enemy, Harlem Heat going over on the Nasty Boys, and Eddie Guerrero defeating Chris Benoit. Since we're not going to talk about him anymore. It's part of the WWE. Anyways. Alright, so it's ironic this week, actually, that I get my largest influx of emails. And when I sat down to watch this episode, I see WCW honoring a wrestler who passed away. Now, I listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts. I read blogs and sheets and talk to wrestling fans. Some people like the history, some don't. Some of you know the big names, of course, the main eventers, maybe a couple of personal favorite mid-carders. Without a doubt, a lot of you are avid fans of the indies and your indie darlings, which they defend tooth and nail as being main event guys who just don't get a shot because of blah, 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 blah. Right? Now, before we get into indies and territories and everything else, I should say that for old school wrestling fans that bemoaned the loss of the territory days and then simultaneously take a gigantic steaming shit on the indies, you should know that you're basically saying that I'm old and irrelevant, and the things that were awesome when I was a kid are no longer awesome because somebody else is doing them now. Because the indies and the territories are the exact same fucking thing. They just don't actually have a quote-unquote physical territory. They still have a territory of fans. And those fans are fairly adamant about what they like and what they don't like. If they want to watch Ring of Honor and AEW, they will watch Ring of Honor and AEW, and they will shit all over the WWE product. And nothing was very much different in the territory days. In the territory days, you would be the fan of a territory. And if, in the 90s, say WCW or WWE, WWF, came through town, you might go watch it just to see what the favorites you had back in the territory, when they were in your territory, are doing nowadays, and then bitch and moan about how they're being used. Piper is infamous for this. Fans of Piper from, we'll talk about this as we go through this. The Big Time Wrestling? What was he in? Yeah, Big Time Wrestling. Anyways, just know that they're not different. All right, the territories, the indies, it's all the same shit. It's just instead of being a physical territory, it's now a psychological one. All right, so just calm the fuck down. And I mean, at the end of the day, wrestling for me is a show. It's a crazy show because it's half Broadway, half gymnastics, and anything and everything can happen, planned or not. There are wrestlers I like, even when they're not all that likable as people themselves, and there are wrestlers I don't like, even when they're carrying the company. And I'm not shy about my opinions or sharing them. I would just prefer to do it with a little bit of humor, while understanding that this is a show. In this episode, there's a sweeper image after the first match, coming back from commercial break, honoring the passing of Ray Stevens. Ray, the Crippler Stevens, or Ray Blonde Bomber Stevens, depending on which era of Ray Stevens you're paying attention to. The Crippler is usually his favorite, but the Crippler is when he's a heel, and Blonde Bomber is when he's a good guy. He spent most of his career, though, as a heel. He broke into the NWA in 1950 when he was 15 years old. One of his mentors was Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. For those of you paying attention at home, no, Ric Flair was not the first Nature Boy. Duh. His first big push came when he was 17 and on the heels of working a program with the original Gorgeous George. No, not the chick. He teamed up with one of his trainers, Roy Shire, to win the NWA Tag Team Champions from Dick the Bruiser and Angelo Pavo. Yes, Randy's dad. He also held the U.S. title and won the annual Cow Palace Battle Royal 3 times. He had a 2-part finisher. It was actually started off with a pile driver setup. to the Blonde Bomb, which was a knee drop from the top rope into the opponent's neck. Obviously, it wasn't in the neck, it was into the shoulder, but just, for the sake of kayfabe, into the neck. In 1960, he joins Big Time Wrestling in San Francisco, a territory that largely struck out among the immediate area, and mostly performed out of the Cow Palace. Now, the Cow Palace would hold up to 16,553 people, which they did sell out numerous times. The first time was a main event match between Misu Arakawa and Bill Melby. Probably two names most of us unfamiliar with these days. They held weekly Friday night live shows with matches being taped for TV with commentary added in post-production like most of the territories did at the time. Big Time Wrestling is where Roddy Piper broke in. It was a huge promotion at the time and made a lot of money until their live audience numbers started dropping off as their top talent left for bigger money at the newly formed AWA. They eventually lost their TV deal in 79 and the company folded in 81. However, Stevens was already gone. In 71, he was lured away by the AWA and joined the Heenan family. That's right. Heenan was doing this gimmick in 1971. He worked tag teams for the most part, having 3 titles runs with Nick Bockwinkel and 1 with Pat Patterson. In singles competition, he won the U.S. title 7 times. In 76, AWA management wanted to turn Stevens face, and in a series of matches and promos, they would have Bockwinkel or Heenan cut him off, talk over him, or shove him away from the microphone. This program came to a head in 1977 where the world champ, that time, Bockwinkel, and Stevens would work a program for the title. Later in 82, WF brought him in and paired Stevens with Classy Freddie Blassie as his manager. Fans may remember Steven as the wrestler who pile drove Snuka into the concrete floor twice. WF was the kind of territory that favored large, muscular wrestlers. Always kind of has been. It's only really recently that they've moved away from that. You still have to be reasonably muscular, but they did away with the needing to be over 6 feet tall thing. At 5'8" and a chunky 235, he did not last long in the ring. Vince tried him at commentary in 84, but ultimately it just didn't work out for Stevens in the WWF, and he went back to the AWA in 1985, mostly there doing commentary and managing with some sporadic wrestling matches. He ultimately finished his career in 92 after working a program with Larry Zbyszko. Now, the mayors of San Francisco and Oakland proclaimed April the 5th as Ray Stevens Day in 95, and on May 3rd of 96, just 2 days before this week's Nitro, he passed away of a heart attack in his sleep at the age of 60. And it was, in case you were wondering, that's Ray Stevens. And he worked with a lot of people closely behind the scenes at WCW and worked with Crockett Promotions before that, back when they were tied tightly with WCW. That's why WCW's honoring him. And mostly, I feel like this was largely Heenan's push. And Bischoff was the one to put it over, which, I mean, I guess you could put Bischoff over for that, can't you? For having the balls to put over somebody who probably has no idea what the fuck it is. Anyways, let's get back to Nitro this week. Live in the early time slot leading into the NBA final game, but Heenan's microphone is dead. Mongo's mic is making up for it by getting cranked up to 11, and the move to an earlier time slot should have resulted in more people watching since it wasn't directly up against Raw in the time slot, but it didn't. The time change was last minute thing that TNA didn't do much to advertise viewers of the change. Something Bischoff actually does nail on the head when recounting WCW's history under his leadership. Raw trounces Nitro with a 4.1 to 1.9 rating. Raw got the entire wrestling audience here while Nitro struggled to capture the lead-in slot. We have no idea how many people were there, how many people paid to be there, but later on this year we're back at this location for Bash at the Beach. Yes, that Bash at the Beach. And despite getting the worst pay-per-view gate, with the exception of the Free Hog Wild event, they would get 8,300 people into this arena. So let's be kind and call it somewhere in that neighborhood. All right, first match of the night, Hugh Morrus defeating Randy Savage via DQ. I give this one 4 out of 5. Morrus has shaved his chest, his pits, and his arms, but left his tummy hairy. I'm not really sure what that says about me that I noticed that.
All right.
Brain's mic is working again at the beginning of this match. Morrus nails Savage in the tunnel and takes him out of character, according to Mongo. Fuck. Jesus Christ. No, I wish he was fired is the thing. I wish he was fired, but he's not. Not yet, anyways. Savage snaps and hangs Morrus over the top rope with his own jacket Savage's jacket, and gets himself disqualified as such. Afterwards, he nails one of the farthest elbow drops I've ever seen him do, rather effortlessly, I might add. Then he slaps the shit out of a referee, knocking him out cold, scoops him up, slams him, and then drops a big elbow on him too, as the bell just rings and rings and rings. The ref brigade comes out with Doug Dillinger in tow, and the actual cops come down to escort Savage out of the arena, and there's a huge pop for Randy. So this is all working rather well. Back from break, we get that WCW Honors Ray Stevens bit. And then leading after that, we get Dean Malenko defeating Jushin Thunder Liger with Sonny Ono in his corner in 8 minutes, 50 seconds. That one I gave 4 out of 5. Bischoff announces that Otani is the first ever Cruiserweight champ. He defeated Wild Pegasus, well, Chris Benoit, for the title at Hyper Battle 1996 on March 20 in Japan. Why are we talking about this week? Why are we talking about this weeks and weeks later? Well, one simple reason. The current fucking champion, Dean Malenko, who defeated Otani on WCW Worldwide on May 2nd, 4 days ago, which aired on television, is coming down to the ring without his title. Promoters, if you're going to do shit like this, especially with a title that you've been promoting on your main show for weeks and weeks and weeks, you deserve to lose the ratings war. Yeah, okay, it's staged, but it is a show, and it needs to be taken seriously by the people running it if the fans are going to take it seriously, or at least allow themselves to suspend belief for a bit and enjoy themselves. Anyways, Otani is scheduled to defend at the next WCW pay-per-view, Slamboree. Flair comes down to the ring with Woman and Liz to sit in the VIP area, complete with silverware, candles, and champagne. And he's spending Macho's money to do this. There's a bit of a scary spot here where Liger's mask catches on the top turnbuckle and it kind of twists his neck, kind of gross. But overall, it's a really great match, well performed, and the fans were actually really into it. So definitely earns that 4 out of 5. We get a commercial break here, followed by a Gene Ramp promo with Flair, Woman, and Liz. Gene gets champagne forced into his mouth, and then Woman makes him spit it up by tickling him. Like, I understand that it's the 90s. I understand that Gene likes the ladies and everything like that, but Jesus fucking Christ. Like, have a little fucking self-respect, would you? Flair does his thing for his promo and then offers some booze to Deborah McMichael at ringside, who dumps it out. Liz isn't high tonight, so her piece of the promo is half decent. Where's my ta-da? She deserves a ta-da for this. Where is it? Are you serious? Thank you. All right, anyways. After this, we get a Glacier promo. Again, fucking embarrassing. I can't believe... This really did work on me.
You are a big mark.
Thank you. I am aware. All right. Jesus. After they get a Slim Jim promo, and that's followed by Sting defeating Lord Steven Regal with Jeeves. And I have no time frame on this one. Unknown time. I didn't even put a stopwatch on it, if I'm perfectly honest, because I didn't even notice I didn't have time on it. I gave this one 4 out of 5. It was actually very, very good. Regal's entrance gets a great reaction. God, he's good. I honestly, watching him come to the ring and work the crowd, it made me wish he had a better physique to go along with his ring, mic, and crowd psychology skills, so that he would have been given a better shot. Ultimately, he basically gets the mid-card treatment throughout his whole career, and thank fuck gets put in charge of NXT and sees them on to ultimate success. But his fucking skills, I mean, Jesus Christ. He's just in the wrong time. 10 years ago, even before this, he would have been stupid over, and it wouldn't have mattered which territory he was in. But we are in the era of the Roddy Magoos, so strap in. Sting is wearing the number 29 on his tights and representing the WCW NASCAR number and their colors with his tights and boots tonight. We get a commercial break in the middle of the fucking match. I hate those. Coming back from break, Finlay is put over as getting hurt in the parking lot match. So he's been replaced in the Slamboree match with Squire Dave Taylor. Sting's no slouch at this point in his career, but Regal took him to school on slowing down, doing more for crowd reaction than his primal yell. It was actually really interesting. I'd be curious to know if Sting recognized that he had learned something wrestling Regal or wrestling people like Regal. Because, don't get me wrong, I'm a mark for Sting, but his gimmick is mostly high-flying spots and screaming to the crowd. So the fact that he worked a very good match with Regal, doing Regal-esque kind of things, really is a testament to both wrestlers. Bischoff here claims that Luger is apparently not in the building. Heenan doesn't put it over. And for the final part of the match, we get a Skittles Sweet Revenge replay for the final moments. After this, we get a commercial break. Back from break, we're straight into the World Heavyweight title match. The Giant with Jimmy Hart was booked to go against Luger, as he was on Saturday. Sting's music plays for Luger, who I'm fairly sure has his own music. You check on... Yeah, he does. What's that? Oh, well, that's embarrassing. So apparently Luger's music was not done by WCW, so they had to pay a licensing fee every time they used it. So why play it if he's quote-unquote not going to show up? Supposedly Luger had malaria or something. He was pretty sick, and this is for all of the house shows, including the taping for Saturday night that led up to this point. Now, that's according to his shoot interviews. He was sick or something. In reality, his contract was coming up in September. He heard through the grapevine that Hall and Nash were on their way and wanted to negotiate his multi-year deal and get it signed early while he was still the TV and tag champ. He stopped showing up for shows as a negotiating tactic. Ultimately, the contract was signed on Sunday, but Sullivan wanted to capitalize on these no-shows, especially the one for Saturday night when he was booked to challenge against the Giant, which was, of course, taped on a Thursday. He wanted to build some heat, which, fuck me, that's actually smart. Mongo, the face commentator, makes excuses for heel Luger no showing Saturday and Monday. Here I thought this was Heenan's job. Fucking tackling dummy. Duggan eats the pin. WCW really couldn't have him having a longer match with the Giant than the main eventers on the roster, so Sullivan on the fly booking had the match wrap up earlier than the Luger one would have to allow for some run-ins to put the Giant over as a monster. NWO Sting, he's still the Cobra. Anyways, he comes out, eats a huge choke slam. Cuban Assassin comes out without his mask, eats a huge choke slam. Why would we draw attention to the fact that it's the Cuban Assassin if he's not wearing his fucking mask? Aren't you tied, Bischoff, inexorably to Mexican wrestling organizations at the moment? Jesus fuck. Anyways, he gets a chokeslam. Alex Wright comes out. He gets a chokeslam. Flair comes down. He breaks a wooden chair over the Giant's head, who no-sells it, and goes to attack Flair. Now, actual Sting comes down and delivers a top rope axe handle, then starts trying to chop out Giant's legs from under him. None of the announce team can figure out why Sting would save Flair. Thank you, Kevin Sullivan. I mean, I'm sure he'll blame it on Hogan somehow. It was all his idea because, Hogan's intellectual property or Hogan's contract would allow him to book other people's fucking matches, but whatever. Luger shows up, threatens Giant with a steel briefcase. Always love that spot. And the big man Scarpers. That's right. That's going to keep coming up. You are not the boss of me. Less is more, especially with Luger. So we have a post-match promo with Sting, Gene, and Luger, which we don't have any time for except to hear where the hell have you been out of Sting and Gene, and to completely cut everything Luger's going to say off. That's actually good. Shut that fucking idiot up because he's going to blow his own spot. The show fades out on Sting and Luger in each other's faces. Pretty great ending, actually, to pretty great Nitro. 4 out of 5. Solid matches. The promos all made sense and tied things together, with the exception, of course, of the main event. But they did make lemonade, I suppose? I'm not really sure. The show suffered, though, of course, being early without any kind of announcement, which couldn't have been helped because it was the NBA Finals. Fuck me. Did I just make excuses for Bischoff and Sullivan in this episode? I'm done. I'm just. Oh my God! No, don't do that. Fuck this shit. I'm out of here. Get out of here.
Well, that was an abortion of a show. Should the mood take you, check out markoutradio.com and leave a comment. You can also find links there to our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Stitcher channels. You can even leave a voicemail on our Skype. Just click the links and share them.